We released a two-part video about a month ago talking about more than 50 ideas we'd love to see implemented in future installations of Football Manager. One of the ideas we had, which is an FM Immortal original, was focused on the concept of an end-of-season party, where you are invited to vote on your best player, young player of the season, favourite goal, game, moment, etc. I think that this evolves from the fact that whilst we do enjoy the Manager timeline in FM24, we think Sports Interactive can do a lot better to make the finale of a season all that more momentous. So in this video, we're going to chat through how we think the end-of-season review should work and also give our own account of our performance with Valencia. So let's begin. So one thing that will happen at the end of the season then is you're greeted with this page, the end of season review. We've just completed the 2030-31 season with Valencia, so let's step into the review and see how we've done. I will give a spoiler that it was quite lackluster. So you get the new arrivals reviewed, and they talk about whether or not the board think the transfer was a good one if you step through each player. We think this is probably a very good feature. I like the way that it accounts for the financial input as well as their goals and assists output and their average rating. In terms of the season results, we had a really poor season in the league and basically everywhere actually. It was definitely a season of transition after we sold our best striker. But we did manage to reinvest that money in a very good striker that we're hoping, once he's completed his language course, he should be ticking in the side. Yeah, competition results wise, we didn't do that badly. For the first half of the season, a shock kind of home loss was the only thing that kind of snuck up on us in December. As soon as we turned to January though, those red dots became more numerous and we lost a lot more in the league, particularly towards the end of the season where we kind of lost interest. But yeah, we had a really nasty start to January, but that was Champions League. We were really poor, knocked out in the playoff round by Leipzig. Spanish Cup, knocked out by Real Madrid. Spanish Super Cup we managed to win, and yeah, I'm hoping that will shine through as the moment to remember. And of course it doesn't. So for some reason, the biggest win in the league and the match to remember was an away win at Sevilla. It was probably a very good away win. I do think, that's a good performance, but surely winning a cup, beating Barcelona and Real Madrid on the way has to take centre stage. I don't know why it doesn't. And goal of the season, in the opinion of the game, was Marcos Garcia's goal in this match here. Let's see if it was any good. Nice goal. Wouldn't be my goal of the season. Reds all round on the annual revenue. I do like this page as well. I think it's a very good one to stay on top of. The money you're generating for your club and also the fans' favourites is a good thing to pay attention to here. So the shirt sales will tell you the top 5 players that the fans love. This is never accurate. I've almost never seen the players in the right position on this screen. Even if it's the right 11, they move them around randomly. In this case, Tamori should be in the centre. Daniluk was on the right centre back. Garcia very rarely played out on the right, even though you just saw him play out on the right in that Champions League game. Overall, it's not too bad, but yeah, that wasn't the best season's performance. See, this is where you see club awards, and this is for me where a ceremony at the end of the season should come into play. So there should be a feature, which is completely optional, by the way, for those who want to immerse themselves in the game a little bit more. They should be able to go to an actual ceremony and sit there and vote between matches, players, young players, goals, anything that should deserve an award or an accolade. And that should be how these are generated, rather than the game predicting and saying this was a decent goal. You should have your own say, and that should then become part of what we'll see next, which is the timeline. And those memorable moments would stick with you a lot longer if you actually had some input into them, I think. So let's have a look what they think. This year, the fans' player of the season was Marcos Garcia. For me, I would say it was between Rivas and Oliveira. The young player of the season was Marcao. Again, I would say that Oliveira or Rivas, who are both under 22, should have taken that crown. Bigotto as well was my young player of the season, who was just a dependable substitute for me. Crossley Hadland was definitely the signing of the season, but he should be because we spent about £74 million on him. He is going to be a very good striker, I'm hoping. He's already 5-star potential, he can still improve. Goal of the season, we've just saw that was rubbish compared to some of the goals which I'll show you later in this video. That wasn't that wouldn't have taken it for me. Top scorer Marcao, well done. Most assists, obviously Oliveira with his tries, killer balls often. Most man of the match awards is surprisingly low actually, so that means that was probably quite well balanced this year. We didn't have one out and out character taking home all of the player of the match awards. But yeah, I think there's other things that I'd like to vote on at this point. So there's competition awards, of course, with getting into the team of the season or becoming a top scorer in certain cups or leagues. But I think that you should be able to give these awards out to your players at the end of the season as part of the ceremony, and also delivering a message at the same time, which could build relationships with players that you maybe don't have yet, which could reinforce why they should stay at the club. There's a few other things that you could do with that ceremony. You could have that as your opportunity to talk to the squad about your expectations for the year ahead, about any promises that you want to uphold, or anything that you intend to do over the summer in the transfer market. And I think, really good addition to the game, this end of season review and the timeline, the manager timeline. But it just needs tweaking ever so slightly so that it has that wow factor and that material emotional connection with the player. Because currently the predictions from Sports Interactive's model and what the game is telling you was the best goal of the season, the best game of the season even, it rarely resonates with me, and I think it can be improved. Now, I've never noticed this before, but on this page it even talks to the end of season awards ceremony, which is great, but I want to be there and I want to vote and I want some input. I really hope they develop this feature a little bit more so that it has a bit more immersion. Next up is the manager timeline, where I think a lot more improvements can be made. So hopefully you'll all be familiar with what this looks like. This comes at the end of the season as well, following that end of season review, and it gets added to as the years go by. Now, I've been at Valencia for nigh on, I think, 8 seasons now, or it might even be 9. We're going into our 9th season, and the things that flag up on this timeline for me aren't all that important again. And I think that there's something that we could really do ourselves as players to make this better if Sports Interactive were to enable that function for us. So I think that this timeline should feed off of a private shortlist of players, nicknames, legend status and key moments that you specify were material to your campaign as manager of a club or as part of your career. If you think back to memorable moments that are celebrated in the football game in real life, it's massive saves in cup finals, it's incredible goals that win trophies, it could be controversial moments that just stick with you, and I think that you should be able to say in the games that you are watching and are a part of, what was the key moment for you. That save that Alban Lafont did, which won us the Europa League in our 2nd season. That goal that clinched our first cup against Barcelona last year. You should be able to put taglines against players, legend status against players, and just nicknames otherwise of moments or players in your team that would show up on this timeline, rather than the timeline then being full of moments that don't matter to you. For example, Trick Pfeiffer signing from Darmstadt. That was a good signing. We had him for a year and a half, and then we let him go because he kept giving away penalties. But he lives cherished in our memories on our timeline. Paco de Miguel made a Valencia comeback as a fitness coach. If I'd specified that there was a legend that we brought back, which was a big deal to me, that would be great. But unfortunately, and I'm sorry Paco, I don't know who you are. This one always confuses me, the hey big spender. Why does us passing 35.5 million transfer mark a big occasion? Was that our club record transfer? If so, why not say it? So Taylan Bullitt coming in, that one we can get on board with. I'm glad they've captured him because he is someone that we would say has got legend status with us. We love him, he's our right back and he's fantastic. Youngsters to watch, they actually look like they've been well selected. So Amador Rivas still at the club, Jakob Clifford probably the best player that we've had so far on FM24 actually. He was untouchable, so that's a good one. The game has done well there. A fan favourite leaves. Eli Wahi joined Tottenham, but he was only at the club for 1 year, so I should be able to say, he doesn't deserve fan favourite status. And I'm not talking about like manipulating things in the in-game editor. I'm just saying that every manager should have just a short list of players somewhere private that doesn't affect the game engine whatsoever, but it does affect what goes into this timeline. And maybe this is because my transfer activity is just a little bit too ruthless, but then the rest of my timeline is filled with those one season players that came in, didn't work out, and I got rid. Such as Guilherme Santos, Youssef Chamiti, Perry Wood, and Maxime Grelier. It is a really good feature and I really enjoy it, but it just needs that tinkering to make it that extra bit special. But what do you think about the end of season review in Football Manager 23? What would you hope to see improved? Is there anything you'd add to our list of ideas? Would you opt to attend a ceremony where you could actually vote for the likes of goal of the season? Or do you think that this would be a waste of time and you'd rather just get on with the summer? As ever guys, let us know down in the comments. As for the lessons that I have learned in this season, I'd say there were 3 big ones. Number 1, catching Real Madrid and Barcelona is proving to be an incredibly difficult challenge. And that is largely thanks to the fact that they've got so much good youth prospects in their team at the start of FM23. I'm talking Camavinga, Endrick, Valverde even for Real Madrid, and then on the Barcelona side of things, Gavi, Pedri, Ansu Fati, so much potential, all so young when you start the game. 8 years later, they are devastating. As for number 2, in my tactics in the most congested period, you can see that I've ended the season with injuries galore here. What I really needed to do, which I didn't do early enough in that bad spell that we had in January, was when we were out of possession, not be afraid to trigger press only slightly more often. I've always had more often as my trigger press option, and I think that all that was doing is making my team so tired when we had a game every 3 days. And even with good squad rotation, I couldn't keep the injuries at bay and it really cost me. Number 3, you may have seen in other tips videos that the best tip I can give for a goalkeeper is not to have them on sweeper keeper, even if it is on sweeper keeper defend, and instead go with goalkeeper defend as the safest, mistakeless option. However, this year we had Turati in goal doing just this, goalkeeper defend. He was tactically familiar with that, but I think it's actually slightly more complicated than just switching him from sweeper keeper to goalkeeper defend. And instead, what I'm now going to suggest going forwards is if you see a goalkeeper whose role and duty order is sweeper keeper first and then goalkeeper defend second, then that is the red flag, not the tactical selection that you make. So this guy, Turati, I thought would be as dependable as they come. He's 4-star in terms of his current ability. He's not too old and should be really doing a solid job for me. But the guy couldn't catch a cold this year. And I've got a bit of a blooper reel now of Turati doing all of his best work and dropping the ball time and time again, which has led me to believe that I should get rid of this keeper and that I should drop my goalkeeper to sweeper keeper bias. Now, earlier we promised to give you our actual goal of the season, chosen by us, not the game, and this one took the prize. A sumptuous ball from our youngster Santa Maria, an outrageous first time pass across the face of goal from Bigotto, and tidily finished by Marcao to top off a rout against Espanyol. Absolutely delightful. That'll just about wrap it for today though folks. I hope you've enjoyed our takes on the end of season reviews in Football Manager 23. If you'd like to see us go into more reviews in the future with funniest moments, best goals and lessons learned from our latest save, then do drop us a like on this video and let us know your opinions down in the comments. We've got another 2-parter tips video on the way which you won't want to miss, so be sure to smash that subscribe button, and until next time my friends, adios.